Okay, so welcome back. It's week 4 and we have looked at breathing in general, what it is, how it works. If you haven't seen any of the previous videos, I highly recommend you go back and have a look at them now, and this one will make so much more sense to you. So this week, I want to look at a few of the things associated with breathing and just some other peripheries a little more that are still worth a thought. Firstly, we're looking at the nose versus the mouth. How do you breathe? Are you a nose breather? Or are you a mouth breather? Or are you a bit of both? Doesn't matter, really, as long as you're getting the air in to be able to breathe. However, it does matter if you're trying to deliver and if you're trying to sing. And it can also matter in depending on how you're singing, what you're singing and where you're singing. A breath through the nose is a lot slower and more calming in that you can't take quite as much in. Try it now. Try just breathing in through your nose if you can. If you then try a mouth breath, I can get a lot in a lot quicker, literally because it's a bigger hole, than I can through my nose breathing. However, I'm much more likely to want to lift my shoulders as opposed to if I'm using my nose. So a nose breath can be a lot more calming. However, it can be a bit more noisy as opposed to a mouth breath, which can be quite quiet. So it is literally horses for courses. How do you breathe? Try out the different ones. And the things to think about is that if you are working with a microphone, if you're breathing in and you're close to it and you're breathing in from your nose, that can be picked up on the microphone, especially condenser microphones, which are directional and they're picking up everything from here and nothing from here, really. And that can really pick up that sound. So if I was working with a condenser microphone and talking or singing, I might be more inclined to use a mouth breath. And I might be more inclined to move away when I do it. Now, for those of you who remember Beverly Gasp, who had that song, "Promise me you'll wait for me, 'cause I'll be saving all my love for you." That's exactly the kind of thing where she has been sitting, "Promise me you'll wait for me." So if you're using a microphone like that, you might want to be thinking more about a mouth breath, but turned away. However, because a nose breath can be picked up on the microphone. However, with a mouth breath, you have the capability of catching at the back of your throat. If you think about it, we've all done it where you've kind of gone and something's caught and it's just made you cough. And if you're in the middle of presenting or if you're in the middle of a song, you really don't want that to happen, where a nose breath will not allow that to happen because of how you're using your mouth and how you're using that back part of your throat, which is literally the soft palate. So it really is horses for courses. There's times when it's good to use one, there's times when it's good to use the other. So the other thing I want to then talk about again is more to do with microphones, and that's the idea of plosives as well as pace. We've kind of looked at pace in terms of how you're breathing and taking those spaces to allow your listeners to take on board what you're saying. Now, plosives are, going back to our consonants of a few months ago, that's when you're pushing air out. And you've got plosives and you've also got aspirates, so an H. Now, all of those can really, all of the plosives can really pop on a microphone. Is it okay, Neil, if I try and pop onto this microphone? If I try and do that now, plosives. Did you hear that? Hannah, plosives, but if I normally talk, hopefully you can't hear the popping quite as much. Does that work? And so that again can happen, obviously not so much on these kind of mics, but again if you're working with a condenser mic, or if you're working with a mic on stage, or something of that ilk, or into one of those stud mics, if you're delivering at any point, be aware of those, be aware of your plosives, and maybe just pull back a little bit from the mic, or aim that air over the top of the mic. Finally, a quick thought on how much air. So I suffered with asthma as a child. I still have it a little bit, but it's much more under control. And the game changer for me was in my mid-20s, when I read somewhere that for asthma, obviously there's a lot of other things going on, and there's a lot of inflammation in there. But part of what we do is we take in a lot of air, but we don't get rid of it. So a lot of it is that we feel like we can't breathe, and certainly the issue is with breathing in. And actually that's often because we already have so much air in that we're tensing with that, and it's about getting that air out. Now again, if you're delivering or if you're singing and you're a bit nervous, you can again have that tendency to want to take deep breaths. And if you're taking deep breaths, that's fine if you're using all of that air, but you'll actually find a lot of the time you don't need as much air as you're taking in, which means you start getting this build-up of air, and before you know it, you're tense, your body's tense, you're full of air, and you're like, I can't breathe. And you think it's because you can't breathe in, but it's actually because you need to take a moment and breathe everything out. And I say that to everybody at all points when you're talking, whenever you're communicating or anything, or singing a song. Take a pause at some point, a couple of minutes in, and see how much air you have in you. And take that moment to breathe in and breathe it all out again, all of it. And then just take in a small amount of air that you need. Well, you guys take care, and this time don't hold your breath. Remember to breathe it out. And I will see you for the bonus round, where we look at a few exercises that will hopefully help you and strengthen your lungs. Take care, and I'll see you then.